the convening statement, please.
Before we begin, translation services are available free of charge upon request. Antes de que comencemos, servicios de traducción de forma gratuita son disponibles bajo petición. Benton-Franklin Council of Governments was established by a voluntary association of local units of government in 1966 with the vision of providing a forum for improved communication, multi-jurisdictional decision-making, regional planning, and the capacity to serve as lead agency in providing multi-jurisdictional programs. The services provided to the member jurisdictions are outlined by interlocal agreement and can evolve with the needs of the region. BFCOG currently fulfills the following designations on behalf of the Benton-Franklin region: Regional Planning Commission, Conference of Governments, Regional Transportation Planning Organization, Metropolitan Planning Organization, Transportation Management Area, and Economic Development District. The BFCOG Board of Directors simultaneously serves as the governing body for the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments, Benton-Franklin Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Policy Board, Benton-Franklin Walla Walla Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and Benton-Franklin Economic Development District. We share this information at the beginning of each board meeting to provide context to the information shared and the actions taken during the meeting.
Thank you for that. Our next agenda item then is roll call. Michelle, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Benton-Franklin Transit,
Yep, BFT is here.
Benton County, City of Benton City, City of Connell, City of Kennewick,
Gretel Crawford, present.
He's on a Zoom right now.
and Roy, maybe. Sorry, we're getting some feedback from some unmuted folks, so.
Please mute your any device if you're not speaking.
Okay, City of Kennewick,
Gretel Crawford, present.
City of Pasco,
Charles Grimm.
City of Prosser, Maricela is excused. City of Richland,
Joanna Jones here.
City of West Richland,
Kate Moran, present.
Franklin County, Port of Benton,
Here.
Port of Kennewick,
Skip Novakovich.
Port of Pasco,
Vicky Gordon.
Washtenaw South Central,
Brian White here.
and you have a quorum.
Great, thank you for that. Do we have any guests that we need to introduce?
Michelle, I can introduce one.
Okay.
We have one guest on, I know that is Ria. She is a graduate student at Harvard. Lizzie and I had a conversation with her yesterday about the implementation phase of the climate change funds. So Ria was interested in joining for our board meeting today, so she has hopped on.
Great, well, thank you for being here. Any other guests? All right, we'll move on then to the Pledge of Allegiance. And Charles, would you lead us in the pledge this time, please? If you'd all rise.
I can do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. And you may be seated. Our next agenda item is approval of the agenda. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
This is Kate Moran. I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Kate. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joanne. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The agenda is approved. Thank you. Our next agenda item is public comment. If anyone from the public would like to make a comment, we just ask that you state your name, city residence for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Would anyone like to make a public comment at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to presentation, Regional Transportation Plan 2050 Goals discussion. Aaron, take it away.
All righty, thank you very much. I will jump over to the, one too far. I will jump over to this slide and I'm gonna give a quick overview on what we will be talking about. And I have a couple questions I'll be asking you, and this will be a little interactive. So this presentation could go 15 minutes or it could go 3 minutes. So why are we having this discussion? So there is the Washington State Transportation Plan that sets, we'll say, the broad framework for all of the regions within the state for their transportation plans. That the pyramid gets a little wider and that trickles down to the regional transportation planning organizations, which we are one of those. And then it trickles down from there to the counties and then so on to the cities. So if we are doing proper planning, it goes from the state, it goes to the region level, to the county levels, to the jurisdictions. We are hoping that this discussion will paint some broad brush themes that we can then adopt next month as our goals for this. We had a great discussion at the TAC level about how the COG is being much more proactive rather than reactive. As I was talking about it funneling down, normally it's been the opposite way of where the jurisdictions have set the policies and then the counties and the COG have just kind of agreed with it. But how it is supposed to be done is the inverse of that. With that being said, there aren't radical ideas that are outside of the norms that will be adopted, but making sure that we do have alignment with priorities and saying that we have adopted priorities is the first step. So, to understand what the board's priorities are in relation to transportation in our entire region, no decisions are going to be made today. However, we're going to capture the themes and ideas that will be shared. If everything's a top priority, nothing's a top priority. So that is what we're trying to have a discussion about. Sure. Lacey, would you mind sharing the screen? And then clicking over on the PowerPoint side. Thank you. All right, the first question to the board is, what are you passionate about within your region or community? This could be youth mentorship, community health and wellness, environmental stewardship, access to the rivers and nature, local business development, walking, biking through your downtowns. Very open-ended question.
But not a rhetorical question.
Well, since I'm here, I guess I could probably kick it off first. For me, I want to make sure that we are in West Richland growing in a balanced way, because we need to have more growth when it comes to businesses, but we need to make sure that we do so without negatively impacting the people that live in West Richland, and also not negatively impacting further growth within West Richland. So we need to make sure that when we're building, we're not painting ourselves into a corner with having extremely large lot sizes to where we have difficulty backfilling, and that we're also making sure that we can afford what we're currently building with what we have, rather than doing the whole planning and using future to pay for what we currently have. I think for me, that's my biggest thing, is making sure that it's balanced and bringing in those businesses while not negatively affecting what we have, and not paying for today what we'll get tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from anyone?
This is Joanna. One of my concerns right now is traffic. When I first came here to the city of Richland or to the Tri-Cities, we didn't not have as much smog in the air. Now, if you go to the top of Badger any day, you can see this little fuzzy thing all around the Tri-Cities. You can't see very far anymore. It's a concern of mine that we have too many vehicles on the road and we do not have the proper transportation system to really move these people around. We keep hearing from a lot more people that where is all these people coming from? Where's all these vehicles coming from? And that is true. Since the pandemic, we have seen just a humongous increase in traffic. Now, if there is an accident anywhere, on the highway, you can get stuck for an hour or maybe even two. And we've seen that in the last 2 years. And so if we don't have the way to really move people around, not only we're causing more stress on the roads, we're causing more stress on people's behavior. And that's probably the reason why we have so many angry drivers all over the road. We're also impacting the environment. And so I would like us to really consider how we can address our extensive use of the roads and maybe improve our transportation system. Benton-Franklin Transit, I'm not sure they're doing a very good job for us. And so we need another partner like you guys to help us improve our transportation system. Maybe we need to think outside the box. And so that is one of my major concerns.
Thank you, Joanna. Anyone else? All right, Aaron, you want to continue?
Oh, sorry. This is Carrie Whitney at Three Rivers Therapy. Can you guys hear me okay?
You're fine. Go ahead, Carrie.
I just wanted to go about, I have some questions. We are a large behavioral health agency located off of West Clearwater in Kennewick. We just recently added a $70,000 sidewalk. Our concern is access to care. The closest bus stop to our agency is the Flash Cube at Columbia Center Boulevard, and people are having to walk over 1.5 miles to access behavioral health services. And it just seems to be a huge barrier. We serve the Medicaid population that don't have vehicles, and we do have telehealth options, but it's just that one-on-one in-person care that's just a huge barrier, not having a bus stop. Not sure how we can go about advocating for that, or what we need to do. We've called multiple times requesting it, but that's just something. We've got a ton of home development, apartment complexes, Padlick's like right down the street. So I know other medical services are being provided just right down the road. So any direction or help with that would be great.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. Anyone else? All right, Aaron, go ahead.
All right. Okay, next question for all of you is about regional investment. Where do you want to see investment in the region? And this can be specific spots or general locations. So it could be this specific intersection, or it could be increased funding for public schools.
All right, I guess the floor is open for
Any kind of
comment.
investment.
Anyone?
Gretel, you want to go?
Yeah, so can you restate that again?
Yes. Where do you want to see investment within your community? That can be a specific intersection within the region, or it could be increased funding for housing developments or mental health facilities.
Okay, well, I guess I didn't answer on the last one, but I think the last one, I think that the priorities for the BFCOG, in my opinion, should be, traffic, long-term planning for growth within not just individual communities like we might each be doing individual, but for the region as a whole, specifically as it relates to freight routes potentially around the Tri-Cities versus through lessening the effect on some of the commuter routes. And maybe that would help with Joanna's, the smog that she's talking about too. If you have a lot of freight going directly through the Tri-Cities and you disperse it, maybe that would help. But in terms of investment in the communities, I think that what we're doing is the right thing when the allocation of funds for cities and counties to keep up with the infrastructure, I think should still be the main priority.
Gretel, thank you. Did someone else have their hand up?
Skip, I didn't have my hand up, but yes, I would love to comment on that. It's Charles and Pasco. I agree with Mayor Crawford's assessment as far as the infrastructure investment. And if we were to have that fourth crossing, perhaps that North Richland self-landing that kind of bypasses the whole Tri-Cities, that, of course, to Joanna's point too, to get that freight off of there. But there are some specific things. I really, really, really appreciate the COG's help in getting us started on that Road 76 overpass. But at the same time, that's not done. We still need like a second off ramp westbound I-82 at Road 68 to where like all that traffic doesn't just dump onto Road 68. There is Convention Drive right there that if we could get some advocacy and some help from the state to add like a second off ramp that just dumps all of that kind of traffic that's going to be east of Road 68 right on Convention Drive, right, in front of LifeQuest and the Hapo Center and all that. Oh my goodness, between that and the Road 76 overpass, we could literally fix Road 68. That is something that we could all take a badge of accomplishment as, that we actually fix that, long-term problem on Road 68.
Charles, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an addition, Charles? All right, anyone else?
Well, this is Kate. I will say for me that I agree with how BFCOG is going. One of the things that I know was mentioned at the future 2075, right, was about transportation and public transportation specifically. And I really think that a lot of that could also help with the issues with freight. So I would love to see more investment in making sure that we have multimodal public transportation available.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, Aaron, back to you.
All right.
Hey, Skip, I had my hand raised. I didn't see it. This is Brian with DOT. I guess my 2 cents would be for increased to put money into preservation, because the system is on its way to failure. And yes, I know we all want new improvements and new things, but if you can't preserve what you have, you're not going to get to where you're going. So my 2 cents would be for more preservation money. Thanks.
Brian, thank you. All right, Aaron, now you can go ahead.
All right. Well, here is probably, I think, my favorite slide. So this is some quotes from the State of the Cities on Wednesday, and what mayors stated about what they want in their community or the transportation system. And I'm also going to touch on I reviewed all of the cities and counties, we'll just say strategic priorities or city council directions, and some common themes were threading between what you have already shared are quality of life, focused development, community economic vitality, financial accountability, health and safe city, high quality and effective infrastructure, and community transportation network. So some of the things that were said in relation to those on Wednesday were plan growth responsibly, actions today show the impacts of tomorrow, firm stance against speeding and street racing, which was also a comment we heard last month at our board meeting. Road safety is a top priority, a community that values access to parks and transportation choices. We want to be easier for residents to stay active and connected, travel safe for drivers and pedestrians alike, building a city that moves safely and efficiently, safety and expanding mobility options for all users of the system. So with that being said, the themes that you shared today, and also looking at all of your different city council priorities, and within my staff report, there were some themes that are being passed on to us from the Washington State Transportation Plan policy goals, and then we also have to plan in coordination with the federal planning factors. All of these are great, but they're not contextualized to what we want as a region. So here are some of those items, and then mixed with some of the themes that we heard from the State of the Cities and also from each of your jurisdictions. And here are some of the definitions. So safety, protect transportation users from unintentional harm, preservation and maintenance, maintain and improve infrastructure to ensure long-term usability, integration and connectivity, enhance the integration of various transportation modes for a seamless user experience, health, promote public health through active transportation options, walking, cycling, and reduced pollution, support economic vitality, support freight movement and economic growth by creating a complete transportation network, cooperation and leadership, regional collaboration to identify and develop strategies for the region's transportation needs, stewardship, continuously improve the effectiveness, resilience, and efficiency of the transportation system, mobility and accessibility, improve equitable access to transportation, including walking, cycling, and public transit. Environment, promote investments that support energy conservation and protect the environment. Travel and tourism, promote regional benefits through well-connected transportation options, fostering tourism and cross-jurisdiction cooperation. Security, protect transportation users from intentional harm. And quality of life, promote projects that offer safe and convenient forms of healthy, active transportation for all people. So in all of these different goals, there are some common themes. I would say adopting 12 goals is a little ambitious. I would say we're not asking to adopt 12 goals, but are there any of these, we'll say, themes that jump out to any of you as, yes, these would be where I want I'd put my eggs in these baskets?
All right, comments? Anyone?
Well, for me, in reading through them and in looking at this and hearing what you're saying, I really feel like safety is so broad and overarching that it kind of encapsulates pretty much everything, whether that's safety of the environment, safety for the individual people, the community. So I think safety is overall, but going back to what Brian had mentioned too, I think that in order to make sure you can even get where you want to be, you have to preserve what you currently have. And if you do strategic preservation, that will allow for growth as well to make sure that you have the opportunity for the different multimodal transportations. I think that that is very important because you can't just say, well, preservation, and then we'll fix all of the roads that we currently have, because a lot of them might need to be changed to make them more safe or to make them more accessible for multimodal transportation. So I think that overall safety, preservation that works well with the needed growth and isn't just everything that currently is one of the best ways to go, with a focus on future of connectivity and multimodal for accessibility, which also includes all of these things between environment, trail and tourism, health, and economic vitality.
Okay, thank you. Other comments?
Hi, Skip. I probably have similar comments to the other board members. Yeah, as Kate just put it, safety is, yeah, that's broad, but it is paramount at the same point, the way people are driving anymore, the infrastructure we have, all of those things. And also, yeah, I appreciate those comments earlier about preservation and maintenance. Yes, we do need to maintain what we have. The Blue Bridge painting last year was a good example of that important preservation. But then, yes, my kind of mind was drawn to economic vitality. We do need to continue doing things that grow the region to make it attractive to investors and large companies to invest here. We have a lot of good things that and wide open land and a ton of resources here. And as much as we can try to lure, for lack of a better phrase, to just make it to make this just a prosperous area with vitality. We need to make it inviting to those large companies who would want to invest here. And then I think a lot of the other pieces fall into place because then that gives us money to do some of these other things we're talking about.
Charles, thank you for your comments. Would anyone else have any comments or suggestions or thoughts? All right, Aaron, back to you.
All right, I just want to say thank you to all the board members for participating in this discussion. This is great direction for staff going forward with the regional transportation plan. So next month, we will come back with a formal ask to all of you to adopt what our goals will be. So we will distill down from this conversation which goals we will have. And if we miss the mark on them, we will gladly work collaboratively to identify which goals we should have. From those goals, we will then have a much more in-depth discussion at the TAC level about the regional metrics that will be developed. And that's based upon what the top priorities are. So if safety is number one, the safety metrics will be weighted a little bit more towards projects within the plan. And that type of back and forth relationship will happen throughout all of the different goals. So with that, if there's any last questions, I can answer them.
Anyone have any questions of Aaron?
I would like to just ask or maybe request that when we're talking about safety, that we make sure that we're not just talking about the safety of vehicles. We have to make sure that we're talking about the safety of the vehicles, of course, but also the environment around us, the individuals affected by what's on that particular transport route, and the different modes of transportation other than vehicles. So pedestrian, bikes, assisted mobility, and how to, in general, get from one place to another. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Joanna. I think that I'm gonna just simplify. Again, the main concern is how do we move people from work to home and home to work safely, quickly, and without creating all the issues that we have seen over the last few years. Yes, roads are wonderful, but then there's going to be a point where we just don't have enough land to build the roads. And I'm going to repeat myself, we have to think outside the box. How can we better move people around without necessarily having to build roads? The state doesn't have the money to build roads. And if they do build the roads or bridges, they do not have the money to maintain it. And so we will end up having to maintain those roads and bridges. It will be easier for us to have a mass transit system that allows us to transfer people from one place to another and reduce the cost by not having to maintain as many roads. You know, I know one of the issues that Kennewick has is the fact that they have a very slow moving train through the streets, but this is to carry a cargo train. This is not people's train, right? We need to start considering how can we improve the movement of people that isn't necessarily to be through a vehicle on a road. Maybe this is a very, very long time thinking that we have to start considering, but it cannot all be roads. We have to think from a different perspective. How can we move these people safely and not necessarily them driving? A lot of people don't want to drive. I would rather take the bus if there was a really decent bus system, but we just don't have that. We don't even have a good bus stop signs that protect people from the weather. So even if I go out to my corner and wait for a bus, it will take me hours to wait for the bus. And if I sit there, which there isn't even a place to sit, I will have to be, subject to the weather. And during the winter weather, it's pretty rough. So again, I'm going to say we need a better transportation system. and not necessarily mean roads. People want to be able to move around, and not everybody, majority of the new generation, do not like to drive. They rather have a bus or some other mode of transportation.
Thank you, Joanna. Anyone else have any last comments?
This is Kate. I'd just like to second what Joanna said and also include third spaces in that transportation plan. So
Thank
that
you.
people get to places like parks and restaurants and anything else they want to go to.
Great. Thank you, Kate. Anyone else? Well, I usually don't jump in and do this, but I just want to say a couple things. I think it's critical. Brian brought up a very good point that we've heard for years, is that we need to maintain what we have before we can build new. If we don't do that, we're losing a lot of assets that we already have. The second thing is I think we need to look more on a regional basis rather than on a local basis for cities or port districts or whatever you want to have. And we need to collaborate together and develop strategic partnerships that benefit the entire region, because we're growing into a large region. And I think we need to not be parochialized, and we need to look more on a regional basis for everything we do. So Aaron, thank you so much.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to add?
Gretel has her hand raised.
Gretel, I can't see anybody's hands, so go ahead. Go ahead, Gretel.
Sorry, taking myself off mute. I don't want to disagree necessarily with what Joanna recently said, although she kind of does a large swath when she says younger people don't like to drive. I would disagree with that with most of the younger people that I know, and I don't necessarily think they would prefer to take the bus. That being said, that's not necessarily, we were talking about flying transportation a little bit at Future 2075. So I think that maybe, and as the guest remarked earlier about, wanting to get people directly to her business, you can't set up bus stops at every single business and every single, location. And I don't necessarily know that, the voting population and the ones that pay for taxes want bus stops everywhere. I mean, I think the BFT does a good job of trying to look at expanded routes, but I think when they started looking into some of these different, I know I was speaking with, I'm sorry, I don't remember, Tom? John, anyways, that new head of the BFT, which is doing a great job, he was talking about, neighborhood pickups and drop-offs for kids, for after school events, activities, kind of like neighborhood type of driving routes. And I think some sort of thinking outside of the box in that regard would be good. But I mean, we also do have dial-a-ride. So I'm not sure, with the Medicaid recipients, in terms of taking the bus or utilizing dial-a-ride, I'm not sure why they wouldn't be using dial-a-ride to potentially get closer to where they're going. But I don't love seeing the massive buses driving around town with not that many people on them. I think that, in the future, maybe there just needs to be a little bit more of a transportation network that is maybe a little bit more like an Uber type system in some regards. But I would disagree that young people don't necessarily want to drive and would rather be on public transportation. But I just wanted to throw that out there, not necessarily to disagree, but just that there still is a wide range of people and needs, and it's hard to address all of those. But I think looking outside of the box and trying to address just some of those different things is always helpful.
Gretel, thank you. Anyone else?
Charles has his hand raised.
Charles, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, I just have some similar comments along those lines. Just an interesting thought is there was, I remember, when I was growing up, a driver's license was a rite of passage for for any young adult. And then I remember they did a survey about 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they asked kids, would you rather have a new car or a cell phone? And the predominant answer was a cell phone. It just kind of shocked so many people, and they even saw used car sales and everything go down a little bit because of that. And what it is, back in my day, connecting with everybody, your social life, all those things came from a vehicle. And these days, a lot of it does come from, the things in our back pockets, the black mirror and everything like that. And so while I think there is some truth in, some urban areas that, some people do like the ease of public transportation and other stuff. I think, it's going to take a lot to really get the car out of people here. I mean, this is kind of one of those areas that we are really kind of car centric. And, with that said, these are just kind of a lot of thoughts there. I agree with Gretel that Mr. Drost is doing a great job at Benton-Franklin Transit. He has been a breath of fresh air that's come in. He has had a lot of new ideas like express bus service to the airport. It's like, holy smokes, what a no-brainer that is. Things like that we should have, done before. And so he and his team are doing a lot of forward-thinking things. I mean, just with the amount of money, I mean, I agree with Gretel's comments also, that where we have underutilized routes where things, where buses do seem to run around empty. But at the same point, I'm on the Benton-Franklin Transit Board, and ridership is up. They are doing a lot of things in the right direction. So I think, it's a balanced approach where I don't think we're ever gonna, take people's keys away from them, because I'll be the first to not want to give mine up for anything. But I think they are doing a great job over there of taking us in the direction some others want to go, so that we have that balanced approach.
Thank you, Charles. Anyone else?
Yes,
Yes.
I just would like to kind of push back a little bit. I feel like a lot of this is a chicken and egg sort of situation. I believe that myself, I would love to take public transportation, and I actually have a lot of folks I know that work at the lab, that go to CBC, that just are all around the community. I mean, West Richland has a large amount of younger people that lives there, and I think that a lot of people that are younger and my age, which I am not younger, would like to have more ease of public transportation. And I will say that Ben-Franklin Transit is doing a great job with what they've got. But also, I think that if there were less wait, if there were, like Joanna had said, the ability to have more shelter and more comfort while you're waiting, and also a little bit more flexibility in where it can end up dropping folks off, I think that that would really help drive ridership up even more. I don't know if the numbers for ridership involve Connect as well, but I think that just in hearing that the membership is going up with the amount of inconvenience that comes with public transportation, I think that that shows that people want to do it. But if I wanted to go from where I live to the mall, for instance, in Kennewick, that could take at least 2 hours, depending on which routes I go. If I want to go by Connect, if I want to go by bus. So I think that we have to look at it in a holistic way, where we're looking at the whole picture and the reasons why it might be not as the buses might not be as full as they could be. So I just wanted to push back a little bit on that.
Okay, thank you. Aaron, can we wrap this up since we need to move on to budget considerations?
Yeah, just I will say I very much appreciate everybody's comments, and if you have any additional thoughts on this, you are welcome to give me a call or shoot me an email. This is a great discussion, and thank you for all of this input.
Aaron, thank you so much. We'll move on then to our next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. These are items of a routine nature taken by one vote of the board. Any item can be removed and placed further on down the agenda or tabled for another meeting. Do we need to remove any item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
This is Kate Moran. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Brian White, I second it.
Brian, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to action items, and we'll move on to action item C. COG, action item pages 13 to 18, resolution 0525, approval of 26th annual budget, regular membership assessment, and associate members dues. Michelle, is that you?
This is actually gonna be Alexis today.
Alexis, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Alexis. I'm the staff accountant for BFCOG. Today I will be going over the 2026 BFCOG budget. The main components I will be going over are income source, direct program costs, admin costs, staff and non-staff related, indirect cost reimbursement, and the 2026 member assessment dues. Before I begin, if there's any questions, if you may raise your hand after each slide, because there will be a couple slides, so I just want to make sure you don't lose your question as slides go. I will begin with 5 facts of our budget. Fact number 1, 78% of our income comes from state and federal program grants. BFCOG receives operating revenue through 6 funding sources. There will be a new one this in 2026 compared to the previous budget. Our funding sources are renewing program funding grants, federal and state allocations, single opportunity grants, which are direct and lead agencies, contracted services from PFPs, negotiated indirect cost reimbursement, local fund match, which are the member assessment and associate member dues. And the new one will be interest earned on investment account now that we have a pretty good, robust savings account. Fact number 2, 53.8% of expenses are direct program costs. So any expense specifically necessary to a particular grant award project or activity, these are expenses that are pretty much just pass through expenses that are funded by the state or state or local grants. These expenses account for 6.75 full-time employees, which are currently reimbursed as direct program expenses. Any questions so far? Okay. Fact number 3, 46.2% of expenses are admin/operations costs. Non-staff operation costs include facilities, equipment, technology, liability insurance, supplies, shared software, legal, and any non-billable programmatic expenses. This also includes 3.5 staff salaries are paid out of the admin staff cost. Non-salary payroll/benefit expenses for all staff positions are considered admin costs. So none of those are considered direct billable expenses. Admin and non-staff operation costs are offset by indirect cost reimbursement funds received from billable federal, state, and local programs. Fact number 4, member assessments are 15% of the 2026 budget income. By interlocal agreement, BFCOG members agree to fund the operations of BFCOG. We call this funding local funds. Local funds may be required to balance the budget after all forms of funding have been applied. E-local funds are required to match some federal or state programs, which year to year, the federal transportation funds require a 3.5% match, and the EDA partnership requires a 1-to-1. In 2026, $260,800 in matching funds is required, and in 2025, $100,000 in operation space was approved. The 2026 member assessment total is $360,800. And the last fact is the indirect cost rate for 2025 is 150.35%. The national indirect cost rate agreement is negotiated annually with the Department of Interior and sets our indirect cost rate. The ICAP is applied for accounting convenience to program costs to proportionally offset admin costs. The simplified fixed carry forward rate. A higher percentage is because it only applies to staff salaries paid by the state or federal programs. We estimate $848,939 in reimbursements projected for 2026 using the current rate. However, this rate fluctuates year to year, so this might change sometime in 2026. I am not sure if everybody has this in front of them, but this is the revenue side of the proposed 2026 BFCOG budget. So we'll be moving on from this to discuss a little bit more about some key areas. Some 2026 budget revenue changes is the MPO/RTPO revenue totals are based on half of the amended 2026-2027 Unified Program Works Plan budget, including the FHWA and FTA planning funds, which are now being consolidated, and in the future they will be shown as the consolidated planning grant. So as you may notice in the revenue section of the budget, there is an area that it's now combined, but we didn't know it's a FHWA plus FTA. But moving forward, it will just be called consolidated planning grant for 2027 most likely. Of note, the $320,000 in Safe Streets for Streets and Roads for All grant project concluded in 2025. Also, the $600,000 in climate grant funds from Washington Commerce Project concluded in 2025 as well. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions so far?
I would, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I would just like to say that I appreciate seeing all of this on one big sheet. Is there any way, because this is so massive, I would love to be able to get it in a read-only Excel spreadsheet. That way I would be able to maybe sort and look, because it's so massive, there's so much good information on here. If there's any way, that would be fantastic.
An Excel sheet.
Yeah, and if you want to make it read-only, that way you know that I can't change anything with it not changing the metadata. I'm fine by that. I would love to sort through it.
Okay.
I'm an Excel junkie.
Okay, the second portion of revenue changes is the EDA/Economic Development District. Those totals for 2026 should be $575,000, which includes $75,000 in SEDS grants funds. The WIDA restricted funds to partially fund the grant navigator positions for 2026. We received the $1.2 million in EPA Brownfield grant over 4 years. Of note, the ARPA County's grant fund project concluded in 2025, so we won't have that for 2026. And the changes in loan program revenue is based on pending redistribution of the loan programs. Any questions on this one? Okay. Local funds required for federal program matching is $260,800. 75 comes from the one-to-one match of the EDA Partnership Planning Program grant. $185,800 for the 13.5 MPO local match based on the UPWP. It's a 7.5% decrease over 2025 due to the $320,000 SS4A grant that concluded in 2025. The state transportation funds do not require local matching funds. Of note, the revenue decreased $559,163 or 19.22% from 2025 to 2026 due to the completion of the ARPA funds, the Safe Streets for All grant, and climate change grant. Okay, so here we have the annual expenses of 2026. And to go over those changes, we will have some stacking changes in 2026, just replacing the local governance program role with a communications coordinator role. An assessment determined a dedicated public engagement role would consolidate responsibilities and skills, increasing the available productivity of 5 staff by 10 to 40%. This also allows us to enhance outreach, engagement, and efficiency. We will also convert our current executive admin role from a 3/4 time to a full-time. This does not increase cost to benefits as they were already technically full-time. This will just increase their hours. Another staffing change that we're looking for in 2026 is to hire have one summer internship. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions, Alexis?
Nope.
That's a lot of information.
Yeah. Okay, some personal costs, salaries, the salary line item increased by $74,804, so 8.4% over 2025, due to the impact of the 2025 COLA that was implemented this year, in July. Some staffing changes and also merit/market adjustments for current existing staff. Of note, the PREDA is funding the grant navigator position for 2026 for the second and final year of the pilot program. Long-range decisions for this role will need to be made later this year. The fringe benefits section, line item increased by $27,096 or a 6.62% over 2025 due to the 10% increase in medical premiums and new staff dependents, salary change impact on payroll taxes, and other benefit costs. Any questions on this one? Okay. So moving on to non-staff operating costs, a nominal category increase of $1,777 or a 0.67% increase in expenses over 2025 due to the projected building improvements of $7,700 to maximize office and storage capacity. There is a net increase of $10,000 for our new website, including additional public records compliance capabilities. But there is a decrease of $18,500 in furniture and equipment due to the server replacement done already in 2025. So that's why it's a nominal increase. We have increases in some areas, but major decrease in another. Okay. So the 2026 regular member assessment and social member dues, we have discussed this throughout 2025 to kind of have a formula set in place that will go off the 2025 OFM population numbers that was released in June of 2025. This was approved this year to implement this formula. So as you can see on the blue section, will be the 2026 dues totals for each member jurisdiction.
I just clarify that the regular dues assessment numbers that you see here are the exact numbers that you've seen as we've discussed this earlier in the year. So the numbers we use to approve the formula have not changed for 26.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Any questions on anybody's dues?
Does anybody have any questions so far?
Okay. With that, I have a 9CI resolution 0825 authorizing the 2026 annual budget and assessment.
So we have a proposed motion. If someone would like to make a motion on resolution 0825, please.
This is Kate Moran. I move to approve resolution 08-25, a resolution of the Board of Benton-Franklin Council of Governments, BFCOG, authorizing the 2026 annual budget, regular member assessments, and associate member dues.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Vicky Gordon, second.
Thank you, Vicky. It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 0825. It's an opportunity for board discussion. Would anyone like to make any comments on this proposed motion?
I do have a question. I'm sorry. I see Thomas is unmuted. If you're honest.
Go ahead.
Nope,
Well,
I'm fine. I didn't have a question.
Okay. Michael, did you?
No, I didn't have a question.
Okay, cool. So my question that I have really just relates to the grant navigator. I'm curious with the funds that are going to be ending after the end of 2026 fiscal year. Do we have any sort of metrics showing that we've been able to get grants for BFCOG specifically in the future to help support maintaining a grant navigator? Or is there a way for, if that's not been a focus at all, is there a way for that, just so that we could figure out, can we continue? Because I greatly appreciate, and I'm sure that my staff and other staff appreciate having the grant navigator. And I'd like to see us maintain that, but I want to make sure also that we could afford it moving forward. So having the metrics for that would be important.
Yes. So to answer your question, we have not specifically been looking for grant funding to support that role, although that is, part of our wider awareness, because we know that this was a 2-year pilot, that we weren't sure how we were going to fund it moving forward. There are some options to be considered. One of which is, of course, we have our PWEDA fund. The PWEDA fund, once we close out the revolving loan fund programs, right now the fund has uncommitted about $700,000 in it. Once the loan programs are closed out and we can transfer the remaining legacy dollars into that fund, it'll be close to $1 million. So there are some things that we could potentially say we're going to treat that like an endowment and use its annual interest income to offset the cost of that position, at least in part, which then makes it a little more feasible when we start talking about how could we maintain it going forward. So it's definitely something we're looking at. And really today, we did want to keep it on everybody's radar. One, because the first year we have just barely been kind of building momentum and awareness and starting to work with the jurisdictions. So we do have another year of that that will give us some basis for judging how beneficial is it to the jurisdictions, how much are they using it, and then we'll be able to come back to the board and with a recommendation of either we're going to continue, does it continue full-time, is it part-time, is it combined with some other responsibilities, which it seems year to year we end up with some new single grant that adds to what we need staff to do. So I'm flexible but optimistic that by the time we get to the end of 26, we'll have a path forward.
Okay. Yeah, my big thing would be, I just want to make sure that we have been looking towards, and I figured you would have been looking into this already, just making sure that we can maintain some sort of funding for what we have and more possibly, without adding to the costs as much as possible. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other board member comments? Hearing none, then we have a motion and a second on resolution 08-25. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Resolution 08-25 is approved. Thank you. That was an awful lot of information, and I want to thank Alexis and Michelle and everybody else that worked on this, because this is probably the first time in all the years I've been involved in the COG that we've seen so much information come forward. So thank you for your work. All right, we'll move on to reports. Aaron?
All righty. The first one we have up is 10AI. This is your monthly federal fiscal year 2026 obligation status update. So at the end of 2025 federal fiscal year, we met our obligation authority and overspent. So that is why our target is 5 million and much lower than what it was last year. On this slide, you can see that we have 13 projects, well over the total that we are anticipating. Over the past several months, Tanner has worked very hard to ask jurisdictions for new information. If you look on the right-hand side, the estimated obligation date. So making sure that we can fill that in and be able to hold them accountable. So there isn't a situation where we are at the end of the federal fiscal year and everybody is saying that they're going to obligate and then they don't. We updated our TIP policies and procedures last year to protect against that, and this is our documentation of that information. So with that, if you have any questions on the 2026 obligation status, I can answer those.
Does anyone have any questions of Aaron?
Gretel has her hand raised.
Gretel?
Yeah, so if I'm understanding correctly, did we not fully obligate last year and that's why we're getting a lesser amount in 2026? I thought we did. No?
We did meet our target. It goes on a rolling number, so I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but we'll say our target was
9.2.
9.2, and we over obligated by about
1.9 million.
So then we subtract the 1.9 off of what our target would be. We do not know our finalized target yet, as the federal government is still working under a continuing resolution. So once that is finalized, we'll have our estimated target finalized for us. But we're anticipating, based upon previous year allocations, it'll be about 5 million. But as you can see on the screen on the top, we have all of these projects for 7.3. We can still go ahead and spend that 7.3 million. Being over obligated is a good thing. So it's good that our target is low. That means that we're spending money.
Okay, thank you. And then I am in favor of keeping tabs on people and making sure that in order to continue getting the funds that we are actually fulfilling those. And I think that is the role of BFCOG. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Gretel. Anyone else? Questions, comments?
If you could go back one. So the obligation, it looks like we're estimating, like you said, is the 7.4-ish almost.
Mm-hmm.
That is just part of the federal that we're talking about, right? Because you were saying in the package that the region has 13 projects programmed to obligate in fiscal year 2026, amounting to just over 8.1 million.
Correct.
So that's including that plus the TAP program funding, the CRP program projects, and then the other two on the next page.
This is 26. The next slide is 27.
Oh, so this is just these three right here.
Correct.
Added together. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Next thing I have is just, I had more information on the Regional Transportation Plan RTP 25 goals, staff report supporting my presentation. If there is any other questions on this, I can take them now. If not, I can move on to my last item, which is a general update.
Any questions of Aaron so far? Go ahead and move on, Aaron.
All right. So last is a general update, but it's more of a general update on bragging on how good the regional planning staff has been over the past month. So over the past month, the BFCOG regional planning staff has received recognition and praise from several different community members within the region. Some of these instances are, Pizza and Plans. In early September, the COG hosted its TIP open house, and that theme was Pizza and Plans. And since early September, the open house was led by Elizabeth Garcia and Tanner Martin. And since this meeting, this idea, so Pizza and Plans, has been replicated by 3 different jurisdictions and their consultants with the same style, name, and format of the open house due to the success of it. So that's why you see on the right hand of your screen, imitation is the highest form of flattery. In November, we received a good public comment from somebody who regularly attends our TAC meetings. This was from David Beach. He stated, "I'm impressed by the important, complex work you do at BFCOG. This statement was shared after the TAC engaged in a great discussion about the RTP and how it will be setting the foundation for all of the jurisdiction's transportation elements." Next is the Regional Youth Ambassadors, or the RYAs. This, if you attend the Future 2075, you're well aware of this, but as part of Future 2075, led by Elizabeth Garcia and Daisy Funk, 10 regional youth ambassadors participated in the 2-day event alongside elected officials. Public engagement with youth is very challenging, particularly meaningful engagement. So local jurisdictions praised the COG for including youth at the table. They applauded Elizabeth and Daisy's efforts to build a strong group of engaged young community members. This has been hard to replicate anywhere else in the region, so it was cool to see that on display for everybody. Next is the Title VI training. So at the end of October, BFCOG hosted its quarterly Title VI training invited partners from WashDOT, FHWA, FTA to participate. The state and federal partners gave Elizabeth Garcia and the COG glowing praise for the presentation and training. They stated this type of effort is not being done anywhere else in the state. BFCOG is leading when it comes to Title VI training. And you see the Jeopardy on your screen because that training was topped off with a Title VI Jeopardy game.
I love games.
Last but not least, we received a great email from WashDOT in late October. The COG received an email from Kay Tollefson, the regional coordinator for our area and oversees the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments, praising the accessibility and clarity of all of our documents and board reports. Kate stated that other MPOs are not illustrating this type of effort for transparency, and BFCOG is setting a great example.
Well, Aaron, thank you. And I think maybe this is the time to congratulate the COG staff for all the accomplishments and what they've done and their ability to work within the region and within the state to accomplish great things and receive proper recognition for it. So thank you to all of you at the COG. Aaron, else to add? Or are we going to Michelle?
Going to Michelle.
All right, Michelle, you're up.
Okay, I'm up. All right, so first up is just a reminder of the committee appointments and board officer election process. For 2026, the executive committee appointments, just a reminder, we appoint one representative from each membership subcategory. And the members of those subcategories determine who their representative is going to be to the executive committee. If for some reason a subcommittee cannot come to their own agreement, then it will go to a vote of the entire board to make that decision. The appointment deadline is Monday, December 8th, and we will ratify the executive committee appointments at the December 19th board meeting. So just as a reminder, the subcategories are county, large city, population over 20,000, small city under 20,000, port district, and transit agency. So, you know, Tom, it's going to be a really difficult decision for you. Who's going to represent you on the executive committee?
Right.
Everybody else, please make sure you have conversations and get information back to me prior to Monday, December 8th. Regarding the officer elections, which will happen at the December 20th board meeting, we'll be electing board chair and board vice chair. Those are 1-year terms. For eligibility, they have to be one of those 5 2026 executive committee appointees. They must have served on the board for 1 year. And be representing a member in good standing. Of course, a member in good standing is a member that has their dues paid current and their board representative has attended the requisite minimum number of meetings during the year. If that is not you, you have already heard from me. So if that heard from me, you can assume you are a member in good standing. Nominations will be taken from the floor to elect those 2 positions. We'll tally the votes with online polling and in person the way we've done the last 2 years. Every time we do it, we get a little more efficient, but a link will be emailed to the board members during the board meeting to be able to access that poll. Any questions on that?
Michelle, just real quick to let you know that I am actually here. I was in the meeting. I'm at my county office right now, but I was with my county administrator for about 20-some minutes. So I am present for Benton County. Just want to give you a the staff.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for letting us know, and we do have you noted on our roll call.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right, Michelle, keep going.
Okay, so for my general update, the first item is, of course, Future 2075. This is going to be a bit of a light report, partly because of after having just finished the event, rolled back into preparing for this month's board meeting, finishing the budget, and also we are doing staff strategic planning on Monday and Tuesday. And we were also waiting for some follow-up photos from the event and other things. We wanted to just highlight things briefly today, and at the December board meeting, we'll actually give you a more detailed review of the event and photos and other things for those who weren't able to be there. However, the feedback has been great. We had 45 attendees to the regional table dinner. Carl Dye and Lori Barber, our facilitator, each spoke briefly. And we did an activity that we called Toasts to Trust and Collaboration, where we asked attendees to share a personal story about what trust and collaboration means to them, or an experience. And we had 8 or 10 folks share stories. It was really, really meaningful. And we gave gifts to the attendees of the dinner of infused olive oil with a nice write-up about the history of how olives and olive oil have been used as a means of expressing trust over the years, that extending the olive branch. For the workshop on Friday, we had 55 total attendees. So originally we had anticipated 65, so we had a few that RSVP'd and didn't make it. However, 55 folks there for the day. That included 39 people representing our local government members. We had 17 elected officials, 7 administrators, 8 public works or planning staff, 6 economic development staff. We had our 10 regional youth ambassadors, plus 8 of us representing the COG staff, our facilitator, our graphic recorder, and the photographer for the day. You can't really see here in our office, but we have 3 8-foot long paper graphic recordings here on the wall that were created by David Michael Moore during the day, and we will have digital copies of those that we'll share as well. Special activities we included for the day. One was a signing of our regional declaration, and participants wrote postcards to themselves, making a 1-year commitment to how they are going to be more regional. We provided all the attendees with I think you'll be able to kind of see this thing in my hand here. We have these gold compasses that look like pocket watches, and on the outside it's engraved and said Future 2075, and on the inside it says Think Like a Regionalist. We wanted a gift that people could keep on their desk and have just a visual reminder of the importance of thinking regionally. We will, like I said, we'll have more detail in December, but for those of you who were not there, I wanted to share the Regionalist Declaration. Outside of our office, we have the poster board with the declaration that everybody signed. We'll have that framed and put up here in the office. We also have a time capsule. It's a beautiful navy blue metal box. It's embroidered with fabric that says Future 2075 on the lid inside, and we collected compass cards that people wrote wishes for the future and their thoughts about the region. We'll include other elements of the print materials and photos and things from the event, and it'll have a placard on the top of it with instructions to open for the COG's 110th anniversary, which will be in 2075. So the Regionalist Declaration said, I am a regionalist. I see beyond boundaries and believe that our shared future is built not by one community alone, but by all of us together. I understand that the success of the local government I serve is inseparable from the success of the region we share. As a regionalist, I commit to choose shared vision. I will lead with the big picture in mind whenever possible, putting we before me. I will celebrate wins that strengthen the region, not just my own organization. Make collaboration my standard. I will strive for partnership, knowing that together we can achieve more. I will intentionally seek connection across jurisdictions as a rule, not as an afterthought. Think in decades. I will make choices that outlast my term, my title, and my tenure. I will invest in ideas that ensure resilience and prosperity for generations to come. Build trust as a strategy. I will show up with transparency, integrity, and consistency. I will treat relationships as infrastructure because nothing durable is built without trust. Elevate diverse voices at every table. I will invite and amplify perspectives that reflect the whole region across geography, background, and generation. I will practice my unity without uniformity by leading with respect. My regionalist promise. I am a regionalist because the next 50 years depend on how well we work together today. When we lead for the region, we lead for everyone who calls it home today and tomorrow. So are there any comments about future 2075 before I move on with the more boring parts of my general update?
One comment I'd like to make is Carl Dye was Native American culture, a very respected title of elder. White man's realm, I'm not sure that was a compliment. But anyway, Carl took it. Anyone else?
Sorry.
Kate has a comment.
Go ahead, Kate.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate everything that BFCOG or BFCOG staff did. It was fantastic. Also the olive oil, very nice touch. It went really well in the food that I made last week. When I say me, I mean the person that cooks for me. And I really, again, want to stress how fantastic it was, how well planned it was, how well it flowed, and how appreciative I am that not only did we include members from BFCOG, but that we also made sure to reach out and get youth involved. So very much kudos, Elizabeth and Daisy. Yeah, so big kudos there. And I hope that we continue to see that because that is necessary for future planning.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, Michelle, go ahead.
Gretel.
Oh, I was just going to kind of echo Tina's thoughts. I thought it was a great event. I think anytime that you can get that many different people from our region in key positions, but not only that, but getting people working together and kind of maybe breaking down barriers and giving people additional contacts throughout the region that they might not have otherwise had, I think is also very important to keep in mind, and that's a benefit for the region and just for communication and cooperation.
Well, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, now go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. I would just like to thank the board for their support in what felt like a little bit of a big crazy idea when we first proposed it. And I'm happy that when we got to the day, what we envisioned is what we ended up with. And so I was really pleased with the amount of participation and support and openness that we heard from everybody who was able to be there. So, but we couldn't have done that without the support first of our board to say, yes, we want to put effort behind this. So thank you all very much for supporting that. Okay, so I do have one other piece of update for everybody regarding open public meetings and transparency in the name of trust and other things. We had some comments made on a couple of our social media posts in recent weeks, kind of alleging that BFCOG doesn't meet its OPMA obligations when it comes to posting meeting information. I wanted to make sure that we address that with you as the board, that is in fact not the case, and that the COG actually goes above and beyond the requirements that we have for these for our meetings. So of course, to comply with Open Public Meeting Act, meeting agendas for regular meetings need to be posted online 24 hours in advance of a meeting, and that's for governing bodies. So regarding notices related to the comments were made specifically about the board and TAC meetings. And so I really wanted to clarify for everybody that, you know, of course, the TAC is an advisory committee. It's not a governing body, so it is not subject to OPMA. However, we post full meeting packets, not just the agenda, 5 to 7 days in advance of every meeting. We shoot for the Friday before. By default, occasionally they go out over the weekend or Monday, but that 7 days is our standard we strive for. Board and TAC packets, both. Minutes, recording of meetings are kept on our website for 1 year, so they are always there and accessible, not just our agenda. The meetings are listed on the homepage of our website on the calendar with direct links to our Zoom meetings. We have a watch meetings button right on the homepage that links to our YouTube channel with all the recordings of meetings. We put out social media posts on LinkedIn, and Facebook that go out before every meeting that include a QR code that helps people access the virtual meeting. And of course, the board and the TAC meetings both have public comment periods during each meeting, which I want to stress, including the TAC meeting, which again is just a step beyond what's required and has been very important that our TAC has those opportunities for public comment, even though that's not a requirement. So, like I said, I never doubted that we were doing what we needed to do, but I wanted to at least make sure that as the board, you knew that we were paying attention to these things. We take those kinds of comments seriously, and I just wanted to reinforce for you that we are in fact going above and beyond what's expected there.
Got a quick question. Just to make sure that I'm also following the rules. So for the purposes of quorum for BFCOG members, is that including primary and backup? If a group that includes a primary or a backup that meets the quorum number, is that considered?
We only count whoever is the primary representative. So if, for example, you and Fred were both at the meeting,
Right.
You are our primary,
Right.
You are the individual that counts toward the quorum, Fred would be considered a guest.
But if there were perhaps a meeting outside of here, where OPMA might apply, where you have to say, hey, this group is meeting, they may discuss things related to what BFCOG votes on. If it were to be me and maybe different folks that might be a secondary or a backup included, would that count towards a quorum? I would assume so, but I don't know the rules for that. And I'm just asking because one of the things I mentioned at the future 2075 meeting was I would love to have a more informal meeting that we could have or gathering from time to time of folks from the different regions, but I don't want to violate OPMA.
Gotcha. Yeah. I can't speak definitively, but my understanding, of course, for us, a quorum of our board requires 7 people. So you would have to have a critical mass of 7 people representing individual jurisdictions all at the same place talking about so
which is hard to do.
Which is hard to do. So it's definitely not something that we've ever been too awfully concerned about.
Okay.
But yes, I mean it's good to be mindful of that. It's a little less likely than when our smaller elected bodies might be gathering together.
Right. Like the counties or whatnot.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, just a couple of quick items just for your awareness. So of course, we're conducting annual performance evaluations for staff between now and the year end. We do have our all staff strategic planning retreat happening. Thank you to Port of Pasco for hosting us for our retreats. It's so scenic over there. We feel like we got to go somewhere exotic. Really, we're just going across the river and looking at something prettier than the parking lot of our strip mall over here. But we'll be doing that on Monday and Tuesday. And then our leadership team planning retreat will happen the 15th and 16th of December. Just a quick update on where we're at with brownfields. Of course, the grant has been officially awarded now, and we've received proposals on the RFP to source our consulting firm. Those are currently being graded for the purposes of selecting a contractor, and we expect to bring that forward to the board in December. And then, as we get things going, then when there's a need for more in-depth brownfield, updates for the board, those will be coming from Lizzie. And that's it for me.
Michelle, thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Michelle?
Just a quick question. I know that we haven't seen it for a bit. I was just wondering about the, yeah, okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't overlook it. Has there been anything further going on, or have you had in your, I'm sure, plethora of free time, been able to look into the planning, the regional planning? I can't remember the name for it, but the one where it's for the whole region.
The Building Appeals
That's
Commission.
it, yeah. I know that it's a pain in the butt and I bring it up occasionally,
Yeah,
but
no,
I have somebody pestering me about
Yes.
it and just checking on it.
still in progress. It is my to die for mission to have that done, before the end of December, because it can't just keep hanging out there. It's gotta get, wrapped up.
So possibly by end of December. I won't hold you to it, but
Yeah,
we'll just at least let them know it's possible end of December.
yeah.
And that's not a final thing, that's just.
That's basically the draft of original documents, in order to resurrect it, especially with the age and state of the documents that they were before. They need a redo, we need an updated interlocal agreement, we need to, our board really needs to decide if in fact that is going to live at the COG and be the COG's responsibility going forward, which is a separate decision from just getting all of the things, in line with the code, to resurrect the group. So realistically, if I have the drafts back out to the jurisdictions by the end of the year and we get input back, we could have, it'll probably be realistically February before it comes back to our board for making that kind of a decision. January is kind of a challenging time to get any new information through the jurisdictions, obviously, with just all the changes in elected officials and getting everybody on board. But, if I can get my part done by the end of the year, we could perhaps have a resolution by the end of the first quarter.
Okay, and I won't hold you to
no.
specifics, I'll just let them know that.
Yeah.
It's lots of ballpark, maybe regional estimate.
Yeah, I mean, it is complex.
Right.
There is a lot there. Oh, go ahead.
Before we move on the questions that we've had some concern about, I just want to give a shout out to Lacey because I think she's doing an excellent job of getting that information out on time, properly, and I can't see where there's any problems at all, although there are some people that seem to think there are. So I think the staff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. All right, we'll move on to new business. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board at this meeting? If not, we'll have director updates. If anyone would like to report on anything happening in your jurisdictions, now's the time to do it. Would anyone like to comment on anything?
Skip, I would just go ahead and say this is Michael Alvarez of Benton County. We went ahead, the three commissioners went ahead yesterday and appointed a new sheriff through 2026, and that will be Sheriff Mike Clark. So that happened yesterday.
Great, good job, Michael. Thank you for that. Anyone else?
Hi, Skip, Charles and Pasco. Yeah, we've got similar stuff going on. Our legal representation terminated their contract, and that's at the end of the year. So we are looking at replacing them, of course, with Peter Harpster's resignation as the at-large member. We are going to be appointing somebody new on December 8th. We had, last I heard, it was over 26 people applied for that position that closed this past Tuesday. So we'll have our hands full getting that taken care of. And then, of course, the one thing still hanging in the balance is whether our former mayor Pete Serrano decides to come back pending his appointment as the U.S. Attorney for Eastern Washington, if he is able to get confirmed by the Senate or not. So other than that, not much going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. Anyone else?
This is Vicky from Port Pasco. Gene Reichman will be retiring at the end of the year, and Matt Watkins will be representing District 2. He was elected in November, so we'll have a new commissioner.
Vicky, thank you. Anyone else?
Sure.
All right, then our next meeting will be Friday, December 19th, and we are adjourned at 11:32. Thank you all for attending, and I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving vacation too. Thank you all.
Thank you.